So what are we seeing from an industry standpoint? We live in that long-term build of health and wellness, and our scope is broad, right? Our scope is broad for the individual, not broad in the sense of the industry, but broad in the sense of the individual and what we're trying to accomplish. I think how we see things holistically are very different than most built up gyms, facilities, or wellness kind of entities, and we're trying to kind of combine it all. Right.
Yeah.
And what do you think the industry is trending towards?
I think that's our differentiator, is that we do look at the individual as a whole, as opposed to kind of what the rest of the industry is doing and what our so-called competition may be thinking about and what they could be doing. So even as we talk about 8Well, which was established in 2022, now in 2026, we've had a similar vision, but lots of small iterations and things that we brought in to try to integrate to give the best value to our members. So right now we're seeing that it seems that people want more out of their fitness studios than just fitness. And I think that we've always tried to offer that to our members, to the people that walk in the door from a drop-in standpoint, which is why we don't do many drop-ins now. We try to convert those people to members pretty quickly to have them get all of the value of the offerings that we do have at 8Well. But what we are seeing is that people want more, and they're actually investing way more currently into their wellness than they were at any other point in time. So dropped the stat for you guys earlier, but it looks like people are when we look at full healthcare spend, so that's everything. You're going to your doctor, right? You're getting an X-ray, but your full healthcare expenditure, about 60% of that is going towards wellness. So meaning that people are shifting that spend towards preventative services,
out of medical services,
So it's starting to outpace things like recreational sports, outpace things like going for a checkup. So you're seeing people are 60% of medicals, or 60% of healthcare expenditure is going towards wellness. So so that probably also falls in line with your fitness studio, your nutrition, your wearables that you're utilizing. But people are looking to kind of own their wellness and health experience, as opposed to kind of just falling in line to what it is and pay for everything afterwards.
I think people are searching for education around it, and like joining you guys basically last year to kind of see from the gym end and the perspective of everyone that comes to the gym. They're not just looking for a quick 40-minute workout to bounce out. Like they do ask questions about health and wellness. Like they really try to pursue more. And like obviously the spending is going to be the best metric to see that, but just being on the ground and like talking to these people, it's every day, every conversation, they are just itching. Whether it's the recovery boots, the compression sleeves, whether it's the new nutrition recommendations, like everyone wants to know more and more. And like I made this joke to one of my buddies the other day, like when one of my buddies from grad school is like, if it wasn't for COVID, people probably wouldn't have cared as much. I think 2020 like really swung everything around, and a lot of people got more perspective on health, and all the time in the house really allowed them to kind of dig in and find their own piece of education, because they didn't know where to go, what to trust.
Well, because it allowed you to find that if you were susceptible to things, right, then you would be exposed to them.
I was going to say that
you could experience it worse, right? Okay, so if I take charge of my healthcare and my overall well-being and my wellness, all right, maybe I'm less susceptible to things I can't control.
I think that, and not to get stuck on a COVID point, but I think there was two big things of like people recognize their mortality, because friends of theirs were getting hit with certain things. We're like, I thought this person was healthy. Right? And it's like, what is health outside of the medical scope, right? And then two, there was a lot of distrust out there for certain people with certain things that happened, whether it's health, medical related, whether it's just like seeing people, right, that were healthy not be healthy anymore. And there's just like a lot of distrust and uncertainty around like, whoa, like what does healthy actually look like, right? And I think that's what people are searching for, like 40, 50 years ago, even 10 years ago, all of your health trust was in your doctor's hands, your medical insurance-based doctor's hands. Now, as you said, right, with the spend, it's really, really pulling on the holistic side of like, wait, like how you eat influences things, the micronutrition, right, come into play, the blood work, the full panel blood works, not just a once every 5 years, not just a colonoscopy, right? Even like people getting younger or at a younger age, getting these medical tests done, right? Because they need to. And just like seeing that, like how this plays out and what they actually have available and the resources that are out there beyond just in a doctor's office, I'm in this health box and I exit it and then I just go on about eating whatever I want, working out a little bit here and there, trying to be healthy. But it's like, no. There are so many more questions people are trying to answer with their own personal health, wellness, and fitness. And it's like, where are we getting all these things from, right? And like, where are you looking to consume these things and where do you put your trust?
Yeah. Well, it's the thing that fitness and wellness has become way more consumer centric. So previously, kind of even as you're stating, you were just essentially, you were a victim to the system, right? Yep. You got sick, you had to wait till you were sick to go see someone. Now you can almost flip that on your head and you can say, how do I avoid sickness?
Yep.
How can I make myself healthier? And what are the things I should be doing? I think that's the standpoint we're trying to stand on. Mm-hmm. And I think that studios like ours, businesses like LIMNT, we sit on that healthcare spectrum. I believe that we do on that preventative side to try to limit your need to have to go for acute care. Yeah. So, right, how can I think we sit in that full realm of helping individuals not have to rely fully on the acute care needed from a doctor, right, by keeping themselves healthier through fitness, through nutrition.
And I think that kind of just leads us into the reason why we're here is how are we expanding? You know, like how do we expand into other places to help more people? How do we expand what we have existing with the gyms? You know, like how do we get more services to the people that need it? Yeah. You know, and like I want to let you guys kind of take the lead on kind of breaking it down from your perspective, you know, and I can kind of talk about how we're pushing this at LIMNT into gyms like gyms like Forever Fit, you know, some of these other places we're talking to, like how do we maximize the full potential of their client base and how do we fulfill that over encumbering like thirst for education?
Yeah. And to that point, not in a sense of wanting more than we deserved, but even at the onset of 8 and Forever Fit, now with our second gym, there was always a conversation of there's a wellness dollar that is spent by everyone. Yeah. I want to have the biggest percentage of that. And not because I want all your money, but in the sense of I think that I'm giving you credible, real resources and I already have your trust. I'm not going to misguide you because now, like you're saying, there's a lot of noise out there in the world. What you should be eating, how you should be exercising. If I already have your credibility on the way you should be exercising, and we're doing nutrition as well, I'm also going to guide you to the correct supplements you should be taking. I'm going to guide you towards, if you're going to do something outside of that, be it a medication, I think that we should be in that realm and we should be trying to guide you in that same way, the same way we're giving you valuable resources and valuable expertise and strategies with everything else we're doing. We want to be guiding our people, and we know we trust ourselves to give good advice and good strategies to our people.
And vet.
Exactly. And we're going to vet out the practitioners that are going to be delivering these services as well. So instead of someone having to come into our gym or come into our registered dietitian business and say, oh, where should I go work out? Where should I get my supplements? What doctor should I work with for GLP-1s? We should be able to have a good relationship with our people and offer all those things that they're looking for.
First off, shout out to LIMNT. Potential name change coming soon for the entity.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of putting some stuff out there. If anyone has a good suggestion and is watching this, throw it in the comments.
Please.
But I was going to say, no, that's exactly right? It's not even how can people basically carry all their wellness pockets with us. It's not for the sale, but literally just from what we've seen with even some people that are close to us, like getting a GLP-1 from another source, from an app online, from a fitness app, from another doctor that we're on the ground every day.
Yeah.
We're seeing their energy systems, how they sleep, how their body's responding to workouts. You're seeing how they're reacting to food, whether it's a 12-year-old kid that you're coaching as an athlete that has to put on size, or a 42-year-old woman that just wants to drop a couple pounds, but she still needs to stay in a midline for hormone health, right? Potentially going through menopause, potentially trying to have a baby, right? We've seen the variety of it all. And what questions are a doctor that's only prescribing one thing if it's your practitioner, and they're totally detached from the like kind of the health and the personal health and wellness sphere that you're living in with us, the gym, the diet, and all the other things you're trying to do, right? Where does that live? Because it's almost like, what entities are in the best interest of you? And then from that, if they are they taking a look at everything that you're doing and taking that into account?
So like, and that was the question when we were sitting a year and a half ago of, hey, am I going to go leave and become a sports dietitian all over the country, go and stay for different kind of pro teams or staying within baseball? You know, we sat down and had the conversation of, there's a big hole, you know, like what we're doing here, and whether they're going to get a GLP-1 medication with no oversight, no training regimens, no nutrition recommendations, not building up the habits they should while kind of having the assist on the appetite suppression. You know, how do you make sure that result is sustainable? You know, and when we're sitting there talking about it, you know, like we're like, how is this not more apparent? How is this not out there? You know, over the last year and a half, we started with the first kind of first step of introducing our medical team to connecting to doctors that were handling the GLP-1s, you know, kind of putting our point across of how we wanted to have the full picture, you know, and finding like-minded medical individuals that understood that, you know, understanding that we didn't want to just write you a script or just give you the medications, that if you were going to meet with our medical team, you had to come for some sort of nutrition education. You know, some of the higher ends are sitting with our personal trainers. You know, how do we get you on medication and off medication in a reasonable amount of time and establish and crush your goals? You know, and I think that's the reason why we really pushed for LIMNT in the first place. You know,
that was a good way. You just kind of stated that. But let's start it from, take a step back and talk about how we do integrate LIMNT into gyms and into Eat Well and Forever Fit, and then how we move from the registered dietitian services to these vetted clinical practitioners that we partner with for the medications.
All right, so let's do this again. So going back to a year and a half ago, you know, when I was really trying to decide on where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, didn't know if I wanted to go back into pro ball or really pursue that specific sports regimen, you know,
as a pure registered dietitian.
As an RD, you know, just like supporting a sports team and whatever kind of walk of life that was. And then when I started talking to you guys, was how can we implement a nutrition package or nutrition services to a gym to be efficient on both ends? You know, how can we get it across to everybody? How can we build a business behind it? And how can we sustain it? You know, and we had major success in the first few months, enough that I didn't leave, you know, enough that it was worth bringing on some of my other friends from grad school and some other really great dietitians to kind of amplify not just Eat Well, but now even to Forever Fit, of just maximizing services for gym owners. You know, as we continued to grow at LIMNT, we really wanted to take that next step. And the next step was an obvious one, was the GLP-1s. You know, the first thing we wanted to do is establish and make a connection with some medical professionals that were handling those types of medications to make sure that we can get our patients, people that were credentialed and understand that there's a lot more than just writing the script. You know, we need to make sure that there was some nutrition oversight. We needed to make sure that there was some habit building happening along the way, you know, and then we got to the point where we implemented strength conditioning, you know, to some of our existing patients. With that, we continued to grow. You know, we can now take our services at LIMNT and walk into any gym and give them those services, whether it's the GLP-1s, or whether it's the nutrition counseling. And as we continue to grow, now we're stepping into the peptide realm. You know, we continue to advance our medical staff, bringing on more people that are more well-versed in these new realms. And we want to continue to be that standard of that holistic care, you know, and our difference is that we're attacking it from preventative.
Yes.
You know, we're going into the place where people are valuing their health. We're going into gyms, and we want to make sure that, yeah, like it might not be for everybody, you know, but there's a lot of people that need assistance. There's a lot of people living with chronic inflammation. There's a lot of people struggling with weight. There's some people that don't know what supplements to take, you know, and we want to make sure we're giving our patients the best services. And we also want to make sure that the gyms out there understand that there are ways to boost your bottom dollar, and there are ways to make sure that everybody is moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's driven our business. That's what's driven me, you know, and like the first iteration with you guys has been such a success that now we're trying to go to more places, you know, and we continue to grow as a team, and like I'm excited for this year. Yeah. You know, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good points that you made there to drive even kind of, I think, one home a little more as you started to develop, right, go from just registered dietitian services to now we're working with doctors that are meeting with our LIMNT clients, members, patients, and then working through now GLP-1s in the first iteration, and then peptides. What was the most important thing with people that are utilizing GLP-1s, right? So we did see, and everyone has seen a boom in the usage of these, but as you had just stated, right, it's holistic services are the most important point here, right? So what, from your standpoint, is most important when someone's using, right, a GLP-1, and why it makes sense to utilize it in a system like we have here at LIMNT?
The biggest thing is that people are losing weight, but predominantly it could be a lot of it from their muscle mass. You know, and yes, the scale may be moving down, but is your overall health picture getting better? You know, some people, it might be. You know, but what we try to do on the initials and some of those consults is before they meet with our medical directors or physicians, they sit down with a dietitian. During that initial meeting, we kind of break down their habits. We give them recommendations. We let them understand that fiber is an really important part of this. Protein is a really important part of it. And understanding the hydration implications of when you're having bad days, when you're having good days. Yeah. You know, and we want to kind of get ahead of any of the hiccups you could expect when taking a GLP-1 medication. You know, and the whole point of to get on the medication is to get off of it. You know, you want to get to a place where you're not kind of relying on a pill every morning. Yep. You know, and if someone out there is telling you that GLP-1s is the only answer, I'm going to say right now they're wrong. You know, like you need to move. You need to eat better. And you need to stay on top of it. It's not something that you're going to fix for 6 months and it's going to magically stay that forever. Yeah. You know, and our biggest success rate is when we have somebody truly bought into one of the other two in addition to the GLP-1. You know, if someone buys an L3, they're going to change their life. You know, there's no conversation. They will walk out different. Yeah. You know, but even if they give a little bit more attention to the nutrition or they start working out, you know, they will see results and they'll hold it. You know, and the nutrition education lasts long after working with us. You know, like they can spend 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, you know, but 10 years down the line, they'll still have that education. Yeah. You know, they'll know how to grocery shop. They'll know how to pick their supplements. They'll know what to do when they feel nauseous. Yeah. You know, like, and that's something that I wish more practices pushed. You know, and
can I kind of throw a question to you?
Go, you can, yep.
So as we talk about the same thing in our holistic services with LIMNT, and then as well as we're talking about GLP-1s and other medications that could be aligned, kind of in the same fashion that Nick talked about it, how do you think that plays from a strength training from our programming standpoint?
I was literally going to go there. My first thought is you saying that clients, even before you said that most clients that have the most success are doing one of the other two, taking a drug, right? But working out and or dieting. Yeah. I would make the play that is probably way more important than even taking the drug in the first place. Yeah, people that are supposed to, or people that are taking the drug are supposed to, right? It is like crucial. Like unless you're extremely obese and the walking around daily risk of having that excessive mass on you, right, outweighs the cost of literally just taking a shot to bring your body back down to some type of lower baseline weight. You don't care if you're losing muscle mass or fat at that point, just get the weight down, right? Take the strain off your organs. Past that, it's almost more important to add the training and nutrition, because we see regular people now that are taking these microdosing amounts of drug, right? The microdosed amounts of GLP-1s, and it starts to eat away at your, like the nutrient absorption, that muscular, right, skeletal muscle or musculoskeletal mass. And that's what we're trying to push, right? And at the studio level on the ground. Yeah. That's why, I feel like, yes, I have such an ego about it, because we're really good at what we do. And I feel like our perspective on the ground is saying, like, we might be talking about it a lot to our members, and they might just be sick of hearing it from us, but we're only saying all these things because they're what an individual will potentially ask questions about, look for, and need, and then want, especially because other people are doing it, right? And to tag along on the peptide side too, like, one guy goes away on vacation with 30 other guys that are his age. Everyone is taking a peptide for HGH and all this stuff and injury, but who knows where they're getting it from? Who knows how they're doing it, when they're doing it, if they're cycling it on and off? What are all these precautionary right things that they're kind of putting in play, and what does their lifestyle look like, right? Are those the people that are still drinking a ton of alcohol, eating crap food? They look jacked because they're ripping peptides and they're eating lower calorie enough and working out, like the Muscle Beach look, right? But it's like, where is their overall health and wellness? And I think that's where it gets back to all the time, is like, how do you feel? How's your body functioning? What does your blood look like? Yeah. Right? And like, how are we allowing you to slowly, for the long term, function your best periodically, every day, every week, every month, along with the programs that you are on for strength training, right? Not just jabbing a shot that numbs your back pain because you have a disc issue. How do you strengthen that kind of movement deficit or deficient patterns that you have, and then build yourself back up in order to build the muscle mass or retain muscle mass if you're taking the shot, in order to play the sports you want to play, right? We live in a pill popping and like instantaneous take a shot and this is cured world. But it's all, you still, in my opinion, going back to the first thing I said, the most important thing is you still have to live a little bit in the 3 pockets, right? If you're in one of the pockets, you should live. If you're in the drug pocket, you should live in the other 2. You should consult professional help in the other 2, just being strength training and diet, because it's further than you think, right? It goes deeper than you think.
You hit a lot of like subgroups there. You talked about some of the microdosing people that may just be trying to maintain. You talked about somebody that's maybe struggling with weight for a long period of time, that to the point where they can't move and function well. You talk to the people in the middle that are kind of just a little bit heavier and that need a little bit of spending a little time on it. The biggest thing I could tell you is the whole point of bringing somebody in is to establish where they're currently at. What is the lowest hanging fruit? Is it their overall well-being of health for somebody that's severely overweight? That we have to start bringing down some markers for heart health, their cholesterol, their blood sugar, checking those boxes. Then you go into somebody that's like, listen, I just needed to lose a few pounds. Then, you start opening the doors to, let's put a little bit more emphasis on the weight training. Hey, let's make sure we're grocery shopping. And then you get to the people that are using it a little bit more to maintain, and then those are the ones you really have to hammer down of, there's other ways to maintain this than just taking the shot.
It's everybody's starting point.
And it doesn't have to be, and I'm not sitting here pushing the GLP-1s.
No, I'm not saying the drug is everyone's starting. I'm saying what is everyone has their own starting point, right? If you look at the glasses of water, strength training, diet / nutrition education, and medication, where are they at, and what needs to be filled slightly more first, as they both slowly fill up together.
I think the big thing is like it's all built around customization and personalization around the client, member, whoever it is. So we are able to fill all those buckets from a strength training standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint, and then also from a medication standpoint if you need it, right? But it's all of those buckets may not be at the same level based on what your current scenario is. Or at the same time, exactly. So we may need to build in medication and nutrition first to bring down some weight, to have you safely actually be able to strength train. We'll probably want some movement, sure. Or you could be in the inverse, right? Where we're focusing on 2 things, and then you say, now I want to be an optimizer, right? Now I want a peptide that's going to optimize me now that I have the strength training in place and I have my nutrition in place. All right, let's add that 3rd level to really get you to the level that you're looking for.
Real quick, before you go on, if you can hold that thought, can you just define GLP-1 and peptide for those of there that are out listening, because people hear the word peptide all the time.
Yeah, and even members realize it means a lot of things you hear every day.
Even members I see all the time, and they've heard it, they've talked about it, but they're like, wait, what actually is it? Right?
It's basically like branch chains of amino acids.
Yep.
They're signaling types of proteins that tell your body to do certain maneuvers or functions. So GLP-1 medications are peptides. Whether it's a semaglutide, the trizipatide, they are peptides that people know, talk about, and understand as are successful medications. Insulin's another one.
Mm-hmm.
As we go into now a more broader spectrum, now they're pulled for different types of situations, whether it be for chronic inflammation, gut health, growth hormone, recovery, sleep. As the GLP-1s open that door, now these restaurants, people are trying to push and say, these are great. And there are some that are really been successful. We've evaluated some, we've talked to our medical teams on what they're using and what they value, and that's our next iteration. We want to make sure that we could do a lot more than just kind of the weight loss perspective. I wanted to kind of talk in a second about what Tyler was saying before is, hey, you can push all these buttons at different times. We had a patient very early on when we started, a young woman, PCOS, struggling to lose weight, up and down 5 or 6 pounds, in the gym 3-4 times a week, hard worker, cooking her food, doing the nutrition, and the weight still wasn't moving the way we expected. And we were kind of going back and forth and rotating diets, increasing this, decreasing that, moving fluids around, running to new doctors, and at the beginning she was a little bit hesitant on starting the GLP-1 medications. It was an introduction conversation. It was shot down. Once it's shot down, I try to kind of fight the fight I can. And, as of 6 months ago, she comes back to us, is more open for the conversation, and has had major success. Has dropped 10 pounds basically since starting the medication, and she's now knocking on the doors for what's next. And sometimes you got to rein the people back. We got to start crossing off one thing at a time. But it is there because it works and it helps.
Yeah.
But we have people that have lost tons of weight, totally natural. We have people that have put on tons of weight, totally natural. But we just want to give access to any gym, any patient, as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to talk about here is just we're opening up the opportunity for gyms and patients to reach all these different specialties in a safe, vetted way.
Yeah. And from it's a medical entity.
Yeah.
Right? It's a real medical entity. A lot of gyms try to partner with a nutritionist that can really only do right macros. They can't really put or recommend certain foods.
Yep.
That even just sets you apart and the team that you're building with your registered dietitian. Right. That is between blood work education, between recommending foods, between really getting to the nitty gritty of someone's health. It's a huge thing. But one thought I had before you go was offering that to gyms because, right, and in our perspective, again, it's the diet and fitness is the long term.
Yeah.
You're always going to need to eat and you should always move. Movement is medicine. Food is medicine, right? Yeah. These GLP-1s, because they're everywhere, and potentially peptides are almost stepping stones, right? Potential stepping stones.
They're
whether
tools.
It's dosage, they're
exactly.
tools.
Part of the solution.
It's part of the solution, right? And that's where I think people get stuck on, is this forever, right?
Yeah.
How do I take it? It's no, your whole lifestyle is forever with fitness, with nutrition, and how you eat. This is a stepping stone to get you from point A to point B. B to E, right? It's going to be a whole other slew of stuff once you really figure out all these things and how you move and how you live your best life.
And I would say that a big part of the reason why we even have integrated it into our services is not necessarily because we were like, you have to do this, kind of to a point that you said, or this is the only way. It's more, I think it's two, that it is a good tool to utilize when you're doing fitness right and you're doing nutrition right under the right guise and training and under with the right help. But then two, we saw that people were going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So
With
it's
no
not, hey,
oversight.
we want to be a part of it with no oversight.
Yeah.
So how can we actually just give them good help while they do this, and hopefully
Yeah.
they do it the right way and they actually see the results that they want to, but they're doing it from a healthy way. Right.
Yeah. And I think that just brings us back to like, that's what 2026 is about.
Yep.
You know, is we want to make sure that everyone, whether it's LIMNT, the 8 Well people, or just anyone in general, this is the standard, you know, and we're trying to get above it.
Yeah.
You know, like, people are going out to try these peptides, and like, listen, we could talk for hours on people finding bathtub compounds or having no idea what they're putting into their bodies, and like, it's still medication. You need a physician to oversee it.
You're injecting it into your body.
As a dietitian, you know, what my job is to make sure that they're educated in everything around it.
Yes.
You know, how to take care of their bodies in the in-between.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're putting them in the rooms with these people that are trained and that can really push them in the right direction. What we want to do in the next 6 months is continue to build our team. You know, keep bringing on new services to keep maximizing these people's health. And like,
Yeah.
What I like going back to you guys is, you know what they're talking about. Like you just said before, they're taking it, you know, they're taking it, and some people are having no success.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are on and off of it. Some people are reverting, you know, because they're not getting the other aspects. And with a new leg of peptides, it's in every conversation. It's on every social media feed, you know, and we've been spending basically 6 months vetting new physicians and new doctors to bring on that have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and we just want to make sure that the people that are working with us are safe. They're getting it. They're doing it the right way. They're getting it from the proper pharmacies. They're having oversight. They know the education behind pulling the injections. And my job as a dietitian is to make sure that everything else is well-rounded. And that's what we try to do.
And as you said, it's the new norm, right?
Yeah.
People want it, right? It's here.
Yeah.
Period. Like, it's the new norm.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's, from a practitioner standpoint, it's our job to be able to help them see through it, get through it, and service it appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
Because new norm is what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Should we
They're
turn
getting
our
there
head to
somewhere.
it and say, hey, this is bad?
Yeah.
When, in fact, there are good ways to utilize it if you're doing it the right way and you're getting it from the right places.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they lean on us for information anyway.
Yeah.
We should be a source of it
Yeah.
regardless. And then if we could actually vet the pharmacies, if we can vet the doctors that are going to be doing the prescriptions, and then be able to offer it to you in a holistic form, why should we not be a part of that? And knowing that our people, and as many people as possible, are getting the right way to kind of go about this.
I mean, it's like anything, right? Like, we were approached with GLP-1s in the past. A couple
we
years
missed
back.
Boom.
We missed a cash boom.
But we weren't ready. I think that's a big.
We
would
have been retired before Nick was even part of it.
Yeah.
Right. With kind of being a place that was marketing and servicing GLP-1s through an external source. So we were pitched by a couple years ago, and it was kind of just like, it was a gray area. It was not an educational piece that we were in and that the industry was comfortable with yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's just like the internet back in the late 90s. Right. Like, nah, I don't know. If you ask, one of our grandparents or parents, like, they're going to be like, no, it was taboo, right?
Yeah.
And then it takes off and it becomes trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, right? Yeah. And not even talking on a money standpoint, but just on a societal norm standpoint of, what is this? What are these building blocks? How can we educate ourselves and the people around us as the norm becomes somewhat unknown, known, questions are asked, then it's just normal. And then it's like beyond normal, right? Everyone wants a hanging red light sauna therapy, whatever thing in their bedroom. And it's like, why can't doing progressive overload strength training with therapeutic movements, really being educated about what you're putting in your body, when, and what that looks like and what it's doing to your internals, and taking these things that people are having so many questions about, right? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. You're getting happy right now?
You're gonna love the next thing I'm gonna say, because I was talking about this with Chris. He's one of our graduate level dietitian students. Is a lot of the
can't build a table though.
He can't build a desk. A lot of the the calls we're getting now, and I was cracking a joke that LIMNT is crushing the transfer portal. You know, like people that are calling us are like, I've been on the medications before, I've done this, I've done that, it didn't hold, it didn't work. And then they come to us and they have success.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's because we're pushing everything else.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going to be honest, like probably 80% of the people that come to us have taken the medication before.
Really?
You know, and like it's not somebody that hasn't taken it that's coming to us. You know, it's normally somebody that has failed somewhere else.
That's pretty
They're
crazy.
looking for a way for it to work.
Yeah. And
it's true applicable education, though, right? A doctor's going to write a script that you go to if it's your or even any doctor has been writing it.
Mm-hmm.
Spine doctor, cardiologist, anybody that you wouldn't think is given it can just give it with a medical license.
Yeah.
But they write the script, you get the drugs, send you on your way.
Yeah, you're taking it by yourself.
That's huge.
Yeah, and like Tyler said, sometimes people just aren't ready.
Yep.
You know, like, and it's not just us as kind of a business here, you know, but like sometimes the people aren't ready. Sometimes the doctor's offices might not be ready to kind of fulfill the added services. You know, you have to be at a point in your life to really say, all right, here we go. This is what I'm going to do. But yeah, no, I was cracking up when I said it to Chris the other day.
I want to touch on that point that you made quickly, just to, I hope, establish our own credibility here. And that in 2023, we were approached by a doctor out in Nassau and a nurse, and they said, hey, we could integrate peptides. I mean, not peptides, excuse me. We can integrate GLP-1s into your studio right now. They're like, people are coming out of the woodworks chasing this stuff down. And on one side, we weren't educated enough on the medication. It wasn't infiltrated enough kind of into our people, into people in general yet. And we weren't comfortable with it yet. So there was no way, and I hope this is why people can recognize that we're true to kind of what we're doing. It wasn't the money, right? Yeah. There was money there. They promised revenue, but we weren't ready to tell our people to take something that we weren't comfortable with yet, right? Yeah. But now,
there was stigma
2
to
years,
it.
yeah, exactly. There was stigma, but also we weren't sure about the safety of it. We had to do our own people say we had to do our own research, and we've done probably 2 years of it now, and we've partnered with a registered dietitian, right? That would have been without having someone on our team that had clinical education and was going to be able to sit down and monitor this experience with our people. So we weren't ready for the opportunity, so we missed it. But I think that it shows that we wouldn't just throw something to our members' faces or to our prospective clients' faces that we're not comfortable with, at that point in time.
And listen, like from a total kind of over encompassing scope, right? And this is talking to the listener and the individual out there that's trying to up their lifestyle. It is a supplement. Mm-hmm. These are all supplemental pieces on top of the things that you should be trying to do like every day, right? Creatine, when I was in middle school, 2007, one kid on the football team was taking creatine, and they're like, that kid's he's like taking steroids now. He's like, right? What did your mom or all the moms think? Right now, a housewife is ripping creatine in the morning because female health and brain health and everything, right? 20 years ago, 15 years ago even, what are you doing? Whey protein is steroid. Don't put that, right?
Yeah.
Totally different. That's a simple thing, and now it's a staple. Now it's every household, every woman, man, even a kid should be taking a scoop of potential creatine, right? It's like crazy for overall functional health and well-being. But that goes back to my point, which what I just said, the supplement. It's a supplement to assist you in your life and meet you where you're at. If you're ready, right, ask as much as you can about what you can do to figure out how to get to the point that you want to be, whether you are like whatever spectrum you're on, whether you want to lose a couple, you want to lose some, or you want to lose a ton or gain a ton, right? Where are you at and what does that look like? And I think it's just the more questions you ask and the more you look on the ground for what's actually good and going to help me, right? The better off you're going to be, especially as the world moves a little bit deeper into this medical end and like normalizes all these things that are kind of gray areas for people in their head, just like creatine was 15 years ago, you know?
You got to advocate for yourself.
Yep.
You know, and the creatine topic is like, I make a joke, like I used to put the questions up in the gym sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I would put questions up about vitamins, minerals, protein content, how much fluid you should drink. But if I wrote the word creatine on the board, the place would erupt.
Yep.
You know, like questions about this, when do I take it, how much is this? Like, there are buzzwords, and like creatine might be the last year's buzzword.
Probably.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It followed protein.
Yep.
Right, and creatine was the word of 2025, which obviously we love that. We've had so many conversations with people about trying to get them to start to utilize it. But I think the exact point that we've made is that it's a supplement.
Yep.
Right. We want you to build the foundations first. The foundations start with fitness and with movement, with strength training, with nutrition, having right protocols, understanding what you're doing, and you add these things on top kind of for your success. But people are loving creatine, and we're happy about it for sure.
So what's the buzzword of 2026?
I think it's going to be peptide.
Yeah.
1,000%. Like no question. And
it's definitely like longevity, peptide.
But the funny part is, and I said
anti-aging.
Well, anti-aging's around. It's like, but I was going to say this before, and it's just like, what is actually going to come about that makes real change versus I did the sauna 3 times this week. And, did you do it at a high enough heat potency and for a long enough time and at the right time? Because even, sauna post-alcohol the next morning is actually horrible for your organs.
Pushing everything through.
It pushes everything through faster, contrary to belief, right? So it's like all the little things.
So don't sauna after you were drinking the night before.
It's not fun fact, right?
You're going to go you're taking Tylenol, you're going to the sauna because you went out the night before.
You're pushing
not
drugs,
a good idea.
alcohol,
exactly.
Didn't drink an ounce of water.
Yeah. But, within a world where people are looking for the edge up and they're looking for the next thing to do, to start to take that my friend's doing, that I want to do, that I feel like it makes me feel good, right? What are you actually doing every day for the long term that's forming 98% of your already human health?
I think that's a big part of it. It's like if someone looks at you and says this is what you should do, think about that in a sense of, is this something I can do for the next 30 years?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I look at you guys, you're practitioners, right, in your own parallels, and I come to you and I say, what should I do from a training standpoint? And you tell me I should be doing the most high intensity training
all the time
I can do. Yeah. And I would say, how sustainable is that, right? Like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And you tell me I should be eating 1,000 calories because I want abs by summer. How sustainable is that? Right? But people are taking that information in, right? Or they're going strictly, no, I'm fasting, I'm doing no carbs, and I think I'm going to be shredded. It's like, okay, you may, if you want to get on stage and you're already kind of shredded, and you want to be a bodybuilder and you want to get on stage in a couple of days, maybe that's going to work for you. But can you do that for a year?
Is your workout built for the day or the years?
Yeah.
I refuse to do a lot of meal plans for that exact reason. When somebody comes to us, I would really
carnivore.
The first thing that I say to them is that we emphasize education. When we're doing their initial assessment and we're going through their work schedule, their kids' schedules, when they grocery shop, the first thing that I do is not give them what I think they should eat. Is I adjust what they're currently eating. Yeah. That is the first place to start because you're not going to change overnight. Maybe removing a snack here, adding some fiber here, finding more protein at breakfast.
Yeah.
That is the route I'm taking rather than saying, here's a PDF, here's 15 meals, and people fight me on it all the time.
But carbs are bad.
So, people fight me on it all the time, and I really try to just express to them that I'm trying to do them a long-term favor. If I give them, hey, go to these pre-made meal spots for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You'll hit your calorie goals, your macro goals. But are they going to change in 2 years? What if they move? What if they have another kid? What if they want to emphasize a different aspect of their health? And I'm sure on the programming side is you can get somebody, let me ask you this. What's the longest client you've trained? Longest bout of time?
Wait, what do you mean?
The amount they've been,
the
lifestyle
they've been your client. Or the lifespan that they've trained with me?
Yes.
5+ years, 5 to 6 years probably.
Do you think they had different peaks during that time?
100%.
At the programming, on the programming side of that, you change up your programming based on where they're at that current moment.
Yeah, you got to be variable within the day, but also variable within the week, the lifestyle that they're in that season. If it's a golf season coming into spring, the variability of training. I was actually going to make that statement off of the gym thing before of are you training for the long haul, or does your perspective reach out that long with how you should be going about your approach?
Yeah.
Or do you are you trying to play golf every spring, but you run into back pain every spring?
Yeah, and you can't finish the season.
But you don't correlate that with the HIIT workouts that you're doing 5 times a week.
Do you get a lot of people walking in the door and saying, I just want to be the healthiest person ever? Or is it normally because I want to do this? Or
it's always targeted at something, or because they have an issue that's in their small current perspective. That issue is big for them to solve.
We have to zoom out for them often, right? And
macro mindset.
Exactly. So someone comes in and says, I want to lose 10 pounds. We have to zoom out and say, why? What are you trying to do? And okay, how can I correlate that to the kind of programming and strength training you're going to be doing to keep that weight off, right? Yeah. Kind of forever. Hopefully it fits your goals now and you still want to be down 10 in 10 years from now, right? Or, right, if you don't, we can change that as well.
Yeah.
We've been getting a lot of like high rocks people. You know, people preparing for competition.
High rocks was probably the second biggest word of 2025.
That's a good point. Yeah. So let's just talk like.
Which also, I love that people are actually saying, "Let me optimize myself for this high rocks." Like that's good, right? As opposed to just being like, "I'm gonna be a victim to just running the entire time training for this, and then maybe I die out."
So it's funny that the competition gives them a sense of a pursuit of something they have to do and prep for. I want to run a marathon. I want to do a high rocks, but it's fitness based. But no one says I want to play golf and feel better in March when it comes around.
Yeah, no.
Right? They're just like, my back just hurts every time I swing the club. I get the whole 9 and I don't know. They don't look at how they're hydrating, how they're warming up. Yeah, right? Like no one looks at their full lifestyle as the activity that they're trying to pursue every year. They look at, I'm trying to go to the Bahamas in 2 months. It's like, you're not going to lose 40
I'll add
pounds.
to that, and I know you got something there, that when someone does come in the door, right, and they say, oh, I want this goal or whatever it is, we also do ask, hey, what else do you do on the outside? All right, so I like to run. I like to play tennis. We kind of try to tell them, like, hey, this is going to complement those things that you do. And now we're going to build you a program, and this strength training is going to help you run, play tennis, play golf, healthy for the rest of your life.
I think I'm almost batting 1,000 when anytime someone comes in saying, I want to train for a high rocks competition, when we start talking about their goals, it's never the high rocks.
Yeah.
It's always, I want to look better, feel better, lift more. You know, and then by the end of the conversation, high rocks doesn't matter.
I want my picture at high rocks to look good.
Yeah.
That's what it is, you know.
People want the pictures, the hype, the show first, and that's, I feel like, how the industry and the studios that are emerging are built. Mm-hmm. But it's the individual, like the full individual falters. Like it crumbles beneath this facade of all of these, I want to get after this one thing and I want to look and feel this one way because it's fresh in my head, right? But like you just don't outlast it. You just don't.
The term we use is like magazine ready. You know, like that's like kind of the joke we have when we're talking to some of our patients is, are you trying to be magazine ready? Yeah. Are you trying to be magazine ready all year? You know, like what's the goal here? And then I swear every time we talk to somebody that wants to do high rocks is, they always say, I want to run the best time. I want to do this. And then when we're talking about their food habits, their weight, their composition, you know, they're like, no.
Yeah, I don't want to do all that.
I just want to look the best.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then like when we're putting the hierarchy of what truly matters, you know, high rocks start slipping, you know, and I think that's a good perspective to have.
Yeah.
You know, because if your overall health does increase, those high rocks numbers are going to get better. Yeah. You know, whether you're running a marathon, whether you're playing baseball on the weekends with your boys, you know, like if you keep pursuing that just overall well-being, you know, the rest of the stuff is going to follow.
It is true. Go ahead.
Right. No, but I think the real point to that too is that we're talking mostly to people that are regular working adults that also maybe they are optimizers, they're higher performers, that they want to go out, push themselves for a marathon, for a high rocks, or to actually be good at golf, right? But they're not pro high rocks runners, right? Because then I have to build this for you to be really good for your high rocks season, right? And then that eating is going to be different. But actually you want to have fun with your friends, you want to go out, you want to be in a community, you want to push yourself during a high rocks, but then you also want to feel good after that, right? So like you got to kind of think about yourself in this holistic form, right? And over the course of this year and years to come, as opposed to just saying, I just need to be good at this one high rocks, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not chasing the championship. You're trying to feel good forever and look good at high rocks.
It's like the CrossFit, that CrossFit span.
Yeah.
It gave a pretty strong run, but I feel like it's crumbled these past 3 to 5 years. When I started coaching in 2017, interning and then coaching, the gym I was in took over an old CrossFit. Some of their members that stayed were like, what are we doing here? I'm like, well, what we're not doing
is beating the shit out of you.
Joe, I don't know, you have massive kyphotic thoracic spine, total hunch over. You sit at a desk all day. You're 57 years old. Why are you been doing CrossFit?
Yeah.
Your shoulders can't go further overhead than this.
Yeah.
Why are we doing snatches?
Yeah.
Whoa. And I was like, wow. Like as a kid coming out of college, interning, I started coaching and running the programming for this place. I was like, oh, like this is just like the human body should just live here all the time. Burst of a competition, burst of a diet change, right?
Yeah.
I want to do carnivore for 2 weeks. Go ahead, try it. Cool.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Cool, great. Is it sustainable? Probably not. Your energy's going to drop.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do CrossFit something. You had a little injury. Cool. That happens to the best in the world that train 2-a-days for 7 months to prep for a world competition.
Mm-hmm.
It's sick. And they're doing all the other things as balls to the wall as they can, right? So it's like, yeah, how do you live?
But I think that's it. How can you build these kind of end time programs?
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So so within the course of your annual your current training and program and nutrition, you want to cut during the kind of the spring leading up into summer. Good, do that, but that should fit your whole scope. Your whole scope, exactly, right? And then your training should follow suit. But then, after I cut, maybe now I want to get back into a maintenance balance. And I do that for myself throughout the year, but I make sure I don't fall off a cliff after that, right? So so I cut for summer, and then I'm not done. That has to build back into what's next, right? And you can't cut all year. So then what are you doing after you just fasted for 72 hours and you don't eat carbs and you've just been kind of doing high intensity interval training? Are you going to ramp yourself back up to be at a sustainable level? You have to kind of put that into play.
And it's never one size fits all, right? Like I am playing ball every summer. I know that at 30 years old, going from 22-year-old kid just throwing a baseball and being hypermobile, there are these things I have to do every year to get ready and to throw in what my goals. I got a buddy that'll DM me every once, but like, what's your goal? You trimming up for this?
Yeah.
Every time my response is, no, just getting a little stronger, feeling good, looking decent, performing. Like I'm good all the time. And I was going to also, to you, right, being a registered dietitian, I know you've gone through some competition phases, had a bad back injury, probably put on some more weight than you really wanted to amongst that thing because your training was hindered. Yeah. Where do you like to live your lifestyle, right? Being someone that, me, right? Like I enjoy the food end of it. I enjoy having what I want to have and having that pizza when I want. And I'll go through phases maybe where I'm eating cleaner, but like where do you live? And I wanted to almost ask you personally as a registered dietitian, where do you like to live coming off of all those things and kind of balancing your lifestyle?
I like to view everyone's perspective. There's like a lot of people that I value their opinion, whether it be old professors, people I read from, other doctors, and I like to give what their recommendations a shot. I've done a lot of different types of diets. I've done a lot of different things. During my time at grad school, finding more of the backbone of the sciences was what kind of led me down to just try to be the best possible way every day. Finding whole foods, hitting your protein goal, not letting your diet direct your mental well-being. That was what was going to lead me to my next question of the mentality behind it and the mindset has been such a big swing in how driven a person is can really amplify or hold back an individual. And for perspective, I've had a couple younger athletes go through some bouts of injury. It's been an uphill battle trying to get them to find some motivation in the nutrition side because they're just down in the dumps. I had a really good talk yesterday. We have a professional soccer player who has been battling a horrific injury for the last year. Every time that guy gets on the phone, he's the happy guy. He's always smiling. He's always bouncing in and out of the gym, and I was just like, listen, how do you hold this perspective all the time? And he said, he was just like, sometimes, he goes, I've been hurt a few times in my career. He goes, first time, sucked.
He's had almost a 10-year career too.
You know, sometimes like the beginning, it's really tough. The second time I got injured, you know, I knew what I had to do. He goes the third time, he goes, I'm a pro now. You know, it's like, I can get through it. I know what to expect. I know that there's going to be bad days and good days. He goes, but I'm not going to let it affect my family life. He's like, I'm not going to let it affect the conversations I have with you. He goes, there's going to be times of the day where it's a little bit tougher, but, you know, if I can get that point across to my younger athletes, or if you can get that point across to your clients of, hey, sometimes you got to pocket these things, and then just remember that the overall well-being of your nutrition, strength and conditioning, and your overall health, like, should be always be valued number one. You know, like, that could be really important. How do you try to spark some of that
in
both sides?
In a
client? You know, like both of you guys have been coaches for a long time, you know.
I think first and foremost, I try to live the side that he has in his mind, that voice telling him he knows what to expect. I can't let it affect anything else. I have to be that voice for people all the time, because it's the wall of positivity, right? Like, my shit just doesn't matter when I'm there. I'm getting paid to put this person through something. That should be the best, most freest, funniest, whatever hour of the day. Or I meet them in the middle somewhere that they can attain for that day, and we build on it. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like realizing it's the pursuit. Nothing is ever for the person going to be achieved in the one session or the next 10 sessions, right? But it's lightening up the mood. It's meeting them as a human, right? Like humanizing everything and just like being that person, right? We all run our different ways. I'm a little more sarcastic. I bounce off of people differently, right? Maybe, but you just find those little things for the day, the little short-term pulls that shift their psychological state, and you ride with one of those things.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
For the client standpoint too. So you have to come in with the appropriate mindset, and then from the client, you have to build it for them, in them knowing that this is a long-term solution. So I even have a client that I train a bunch that she'll get injured and she'll go into maybe possibly training, and then or maybe possibly fighting an MMA fight, to then doing 3 nights as a nurse, right, to then not having that fight. So
and then prepping for a fight, and then prepping for a fight, and then the fight gets canceled.
Exactly. So the mental, right, is very tough. Right. But then think about, okay, so that's an extreme version, but then you have someone else that maybe is working an overnight shift and then has kids at home. All right, how do I get them to believe that this is not a one-size-fits-all solution? This is customized. This is for the long term. And that, yes, because you came in today and you didn't sleep well and your mental is a little off, it's okay that we're not going to beat this shit out of you today, that you're not going to be your strongest. How can we just be here, be accountable to the fact that we're here for a workout and we just get 100% of what we have today. And then we find our best day another day. Right. But we're going to get the work in and kind of check that box for ourselves.
And it's letting the person know what to recognize in themselves and how they just learn to come prepared for the session every day. They know it's going to be a positive outlook, right? They know that this is what's actually keeping them. This is what's changing their mood for the moment, but is changing their whole outlook for the rest of the day potentially, right? And I think like over the lifespan of just, they're not going to get the results in 1 or 10 sessions, but it's built for the longevity. The program's built for the longevity, but the actual mental capacity, like we're training the mind too, right? And I'm going to drop a name here. I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Jack Bowles, right? He, dude, like regardless of where his weight is ever at, right? His mind going from a 14, 15-year-old kid to 16 going on 17 now with us, like he's made an incredible outlook change. A lifestyle perspectivized, like mature outlook change of just being able to sit somewhere and be okay with not indulging in something he usually would have, or getting down on himself with a workout, or not wanting to be pushed at the day, accepting it, right? And understanding there's a part of the process and maturing through it and being like, okay, right? Like this is all growth. Mentally, it's growth.
With that, right, and not just him specifically, but with other clients, and I imagine you've experienced the same. I've had multiple clients that have come in for a personal training session, and it's turned into a conversation or a walk.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many times has that happened to you, right? Like, I'm not just talking about him specifically, but other
what
clients,
do you need?
right? Because it's just, I'm going to meet you where you are.
Yeah.
Today, you came in for your workout, but today's workout can't happen.
And on the step past that, you know, I learned a lot of cool things when I was going through my sports rotation with the Blue Jays, but one of the best things I saw them build was like a round table around their athletes. Their mental performance coaches, their dietitians, their strength coaches, their sports-specific or the position-specific spots, you know. And then, like, when we started really developing, like, what our round table would look like for our potential clients and patients, you know, we needed some mental aspect. You know, we've connected with some great social workers. We've connected with great mental performance coaches. We've had conversations with sports psychologists, you know, and, like, that's another leg of what we're doing. You know, like, we want to make sure that every aspect of health can be touched. You know, we might not have one in-house, you know, but we're going to refer to the best goddamn guy we know or woman we know. You know, we really understand that there's just so much more that goes into it. You know, talking about a young 12-year-old all the way up to the moms that come in that ask us if they know anybody they could talk to. You know, it's a hard question to ask somebody, you know, and it feels good to know that they trust you to ask that question.
Yeah, the source,
You know, like, and one of the great things about A-Well is, like, the community is so strong there. You know, there will be times where people ask me questions in the broad daylight in front of other people. I'm like, I don't know if I would have said that out loud. You know,
the
but
comfort and the acceptance.
You build these trusting environments, right?
Yeah.
I think that brings it all back to the beginning too, is that we build these places where people are willing and able to look for resources, ask for help, and we need to be on the other side to provide all the solutions and the resources that they're looking for, be it movement, strength training, nutrition, or medications if they're looking for that.
And it's a relationship. I said it in a previous video, right? You got to look at it like a marriage. Everything you do in your life for your own well-being is looked at like a marriage, right? Like, we even said it when we opened the businesses. We said, like, we're a partner. Like, let's figure out what we need to do to create a studio and to put this together and talk all the time and do stuff. When you came on, same thing. We got to be on same pages of all these things, because if nothing ebb and flows, it's what A-Well's built off of, the 8 dimensions of wellness. If they're not all married together and constantly communicating and talking, and the person can't walk into the gym every day and be like, there's going to be this guy sarcastic at me, he's going to joke, right? Whatever, cool. Some days I might get pissed at him, but it's part of the community. And this person is great. The energy's always awesome here. This person's here to work their ass off. I love being a part of this, immersed. I know it's serious. And, like, bringing up those, like, someone saying that's something that someone normally wouldn't say is, like, just like, wow, like, this is like sitting at your family table for dinner, right? Like, it's like, how do we pull that out of the person, and how does a person find that for themselves in an industry where, right, social media and instant gratification and showiness is the big thing, and these perfect bodies are the big things that people get shoved in their faces all day. It's like, what is connecting all the dots underneath it all, and where are you living every day to put yourself in a better place incrementally every day? And I was going to say, right, in an analogy, it was like, you're building a house. Sometimes team shows up, it's downpouring. We can't do something that we were going to do today with the rain. We got to shift gears and work a little bit on the project, right? Maybe the individual needs to go for a walk that day because they had a bad day. That, in the grand scheme of it, who cares if you went for a walk and missed an hour work supposed to lift for that hour, right? There's been days where me and you have been lifting in the gym. I'm like, what are you doing? You're like, it's just my back's like eating me a little bit or something. And same here. I'm just like changing for the nervous system, changing for the body, for the mental scope. We've had days where she's like, like, instead of our meeting at the desk today, let's go take a walk outside in the sun. Right? Like, what do you need, right? Everything is a living, breathing thing. All your experiences are. And it's like, this is getting kind of deep right now, but it's true, right? Like, how do you just continually build on stuff every day and put the little things in place and shifts gears where you kind of feel like you want to be?
I want to touch on, like, one more topic of going into the schools. You know, we had a really good opportunity with LIMNT to kind of bridge the gap into Westside Supply School. You know, to give them the access to their dietitians, give them access to the strength and conditioning team, really crafting a plan for them. What values do you think we should hold at the highest standard? You know, I have a couple nutrition numbers that I would like to see. You know, is there something on the performance side that you put values into?
I think number one is like enjoyment at the high school standard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of adults,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you can attest to it being a college athlete, that just get a bad taste about fitness because they played sports as a kid and were shoved into it.
Yeah.
I think, like, how do you teach a kid to have fun in the weight room and accept all of it? And that also is going to allow you to reach all the other aspects the kid needs to, or reach that athlete where they need to be touched, right, with everything. So I feel like making it enjoyable is a huge part.
I mean, that's a really good point, just to piggyback that, and I'll give something else as well. But like, we have actually this recurring theme of women that have been D1 athletes or D1 to 3 in our studio right now, and they are now moms and past their D1 sports times, but they hesitated coming into our studio because they didn't want to strength train again.
Yeah.
Strength training was so tedious for them, or it was just so unenjoyable when they were in college playing lacrosse or playing soccer, whatever it was, that they said, I don't want to, you have a squat rack in here. I never want to see it again. Right. And we had to kind of tell them, like, hey, this isn't going to, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully at some point you feel that same push that you want to get better, you want to grow, you want to get stronger, but it should not feel like the chore it was, and it should feel enjoyable, and you should feel yourself kind of getting stronger and better. Yeah. But for those high school athletes, I even know, like, when we're working with them, I love just like body integrity as well. Yeah. So like, I'm like, yes, would I love you to bench press 300 pounds? No, I actually wouldn't care about that. But deadlift a lot and squat a lot, but just body integrity, because you come in with a lot of these younger kids from 13 to 15 to 16 that they don't even know how to move. They don't know how to get their bodies under them, their legs under them the appropriate way. And all their coaches want is for them to back squat 500 pounds. Yeah. It's like, no, I got to get this kid to be able to do a split squat and hold for a little bit. He can't even get his knee above the ground and be able to come back up. I can't put weight on his back. So how do I get them to just learn their body?
Those 500-600 pound squatters in a football weight room doing 2-a-days, doing 100-yard wind sprints, like having a chocolate milk and 2 PB&Js for breakfast, like, those are freaks. Yeah. The Saquon Barkleys, the Jalen Hurtses as a quarterback, those are absolute freaks, right? And like, it's how do you teach?
They're not usually on your high school football team, right? Like, they're not usually there.
And like, everyone who played a sport can relate to it. It's like that classic 80s, 90s football coach, right? That's yelling at you, making you scared. Right? If you don't do this, you're going to go run. Right? It's like, let's take that away.
Yeah.
And put a constructive enjoyment with some type of, militaristic feel, because you have to have the kids serious and ingrained. Qualified, right? But on the other end is, you got to barbell squat. It's like, no, dude, like, a kid squatting 225, really, really good, is maybe all you need. And everything else is what is his engine doing to perform?
And that squat and bench, right, aren't translating that well to how a kid performs on a football field.
So let me jump in, because we've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of coaches, a lot of schools, and really pitch what we're doing over it.
And I also want to shout out to the West Islip staff.
That's who's really bought in. I'm trying to get to.
Okay, go ahead.
So really bought into the program.
Huge.
What I'm trying to get to is, we've had so many conversations with high school coaches. You know, they're coming in asking us what specifically we're going to get them to lift more, or what kind of metrics we're going to get out there. You know, and then we land to a few specific groups of guys, and specifically the West Islip coaches. You know, how do we keep our guys on the field? How do we teach them to lift the proper way? You know, like, that's hats off to them for understanding that. Mm-hmm. You know, hats off for them to giving us the opportunity to kind of go into their school, their facilities, and really push forward that new iteration of health and wellness. You know, but how many coaches have you spoken to over your time where they just want to see that back squat?
Yeah.
You know,
we were working with 2 teams. Specifically, that's exactly what they wanted. and not gonna lie, we caved a little bit. Yeah. But it wasn't for 4 weeks. Yeah. Right? Yeah. We had to continuously have that conversation that, hey, you've got kids in here that they can't get into a split squat. They can't goblet squat. Why do you want me to put a weight on their back? Like, let's build this. And I promise you, if we build this, we'll get results to be able to go back squat in a few weeks. And that's what we did. And they were able to kind of understand it kind of at the end, right? But we had to stand our ground and fight for a little bit.
You know, and like, we spent a lot of time talking about programming. you know, we have a bunch of different types of teams, a bunch of different levels. We even have middle school kids in there. You know, when you give your program to a coach or you're in that weight room yourself, you know, how do you adjust or get across to these other schools that might be interested in what we're doing to explain the differences in the program?
The differences in the program as far as from like what they're doing currently, you're saying?
From age specific to sport specific.
Okay. I would say, yeah, just like it comes down to even the point you said was like movement. Like we're teaching these kids how to move. We're building all the fine points and teaching the kids how to get into his hips, use his hips, create power from the ground, do it constructively, right? Feel everything they need to feel. The positions are you strong in, right? Like what's gonna be the difference between a kid getting tackled or getting knocked down or thrown off balance instead of sticking the ground, stabilizing, pushing the other way, changing direction, and then tearing ass straight line down the field, right? Yeah. It's power creation. It's how well he gets in and out of one hip. It's how well he can actually put force into the ground, right? And handle the balance of external forces put on him, right? I always talk about like a race car, right? Like on the extreme end, you get guys that are just trying to hammer weights, get the bench press heavy, get the squat heavy, get the deadlift heavy. It's like, all right, you just built a Mack truck now.
Yeah.
What does the suspension look like? What's the dexterity of the car, right? How much torque is being put out? Does it have a brake system, right? Now we got to take that Mack truck and put it on a Ferrari body. Yep. Okay, is the Ferrari body, does it have all those fine-tuned pieces now? Or are you going to go full speed ahead? As soon as you got to hit the first corner, the car flies straight off the track, right? Or can it stick and hug? It's got the right tires, right? It's like brakes for a little kid are massive. Developing the brakes for a kid and his ability to accommodate force and take on force and feel his body in those positions is probably the biggest thing, right? And then the second biggest thing is him learning how to utilize his body when you start to load progressively on top of him, right? What to do, what tension feels like.
Yeah.
You know, confidence.
Yeah, we're pro weights even for young kids. Like my kids will lift weights at a young age, but the most important thing that's going to translate the most to them is, like, can you call on the right parts of your body at the right time? Can you feel tension? Yeah. Can you drive into the ground appropriately? So, like, even I think the biggest thing that would translate for a kid that's in middle school, yeah, sure, I think he's going to be fine goblet squatting where people might be scared of that. But it's going to be, if we can get your legs moving independently of each other and you understanding your body in space and being able to drive a foot into the ground appropriately, when you're going to make a cut on the field, now that's going to come back in your head, right? And your body's going to be able to recall training that motion, right? Maybe we did some bounding work, we did some lateral stuff, right? Like you're going to be able to call on that leg and get it out as opposed to someone that's not doing anything.
What in your mind, if you asked a coach, a high school coach, or an old school like football coach, if you ask them what the most important exercise is in the weight room, what do you think they would say?
A squat.
Yeah. What do you think they would say from their perspective?
Yeah, I think I'd probably get a bench press from one of them, and maybe a clean if someone's like trying to be fancy.
Yep. Right. And that's just indicative of like what the mindset is and used to be. Right? If you ask me, it's probably a single leg Romanian deadlift and a split squat.
Mm-hmm.
What positions are you anatomically in, right? Dissociating the hips, creating power. You're never landing 2 feet on the ground at the same time. Unless you're broad jumping over a guy, but you're never, even in basketball, you're rarely jumping off of both legs. Right?
Or on both legs.
Or on both legs. Yeah, bro. One leg is what creates the power, absorbs the power, and transfers and transitions the power from the hip, the ankle, the knee, and all the way up, right? And that's how you have to train an athlete, right? Yeah. There's a way to slowly train it to get them with position, build it up, to put them at the point that they need to be creating optimal power. I damn well want to see a kid doing a Bulgarian split squat with 60 pounds in each hand for reps than doing a 405 back squat.
Yeah.
Right? If that kid can execute the first one perfectly, forget about the back squat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to hyper load his spine and hip joint, right? Hip angle, or hip junction, right? To a point where it could, the risk is way higher than the reward. Put the kid with the weight below him, have him get his grip fired up and actually maintain some balance, integrity on all sides of the hip, right? Counter the weight sometimes, right? I was going to say too, for what you said, we like to load kids up no matter what age they are, just for awareness, right? An 8-year-old kid goblet squatting, even a 60-pound dumbbell, if he was strong enough, is going to put X amount less, exponentially less force on the kid's growth plates, joints, and spine than when he jumps off the playground or swing set.
Which
and
we
lands.
always try to drive that point home to parents that don't want weights from an 8-year-old. But like, you're going to let him jump on a trampoline, jump off the rock wall in the backyard, right, and play tackle football. Yeah. It's like, how much force is being put on his body when he's jumping off this 8-foot ledge to the ground, less than this 60-pound dumbbell.
Taking a hit in flag football, right?
By some 120-pound kid, right? Like, you probably want him lifting 60 pounds so that when those things happen, his legs are built for it. He has a strength under him to absorb that hit.
I'm trying to get across the point of what the program looks like there to close this out.
I was going to say for you, transitioning to like right, the program at a base, movement efficiency for a kid, baseline. Number one, movement efficiency. Can the kid control his joints? You got hypermobile kids and you got kids that actually are very aware. Hypermobile kids that are a little more lax potentially, can't stick into a hinge well, they don't have good spine control. On the other hand, you have kids that typically have body awareness early and can execute it well. But how do you meet those kids at their needs, right, in program? And that's where we take a kid that's in 8th grade or a kid that's a senior that's full throttle. That kid that's a senior, a couple more percent points, and he's good to go. We're working on the fine things, teaching him how to execute. The little kid, we're just teaching him how to hit everything at a baseline and make sure that when he is that 12th grader, he's healthy, he's a little bit stronger, and if I tell him to grab an 80 instead of the 60 that he grabbed last week, it's like, cool, I can create tension, I can crank on it a little bit, I know exactly what to do, and if he lifts with his friends, he's not going to get hurt, right? And I was going to say for you, to kind of cap that whole thought, when you're educating these kids with the diet, what kind of things are you looking for first and foremost, right? Because everything on social media you hear is just complication. It's just, this kid shouldn't have this whey protein. They should have this. This kid, I took this mineral, this vitamin's the best. It's like, what at a baseline are you teaching these kids?
So for perspective, for anyone kind of listening to this, at West High High School, we are there Tuesdays, Thursdays, basically from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock. We run with all different types of teams from middle school to seniors. What we did in the beginning of this program is we gave each team sport-specific nutrition lectures, and what we tried to get across is, where are you at now? What are you trying to achieve? And how does your composition help you get there? So we tried to pocket these guys into maybe hard gainers, guys that are trying to optimize body composition, trying to put on more muscle mass, but maybe hold the same weight, or guys that are trying to trim up, and what we tried to hammer down was, how do we execute that? Understanding what calories are in accordance to moving the scale, understanding what their macronutrients are, what carbs do, what fats do, what proteins do, when to call on them, when to eat them, what to avoid. And then we touch on a lot of the supplements. We also give the kids each week educational materials via our app. On those materials are equipped with quizzes. These kids are doing their quizzes, getting checkpoints across the board, writing in summaries, and doing educational assignments. Listen, they might take them 5 minutes, but they're spending 5 minutes on learning how to fuel their bodies. When we get to the point of, hey, we're 6 weeks in, those guys that told me they were hard gainers, let's hope they're up a few pounds. Those guys that are trying to just convert some of that fat mass to muscle mass, let's hope they're pushing more weights in the gym. Those guys that are trying to trim up are a few pounds down. And they feel good doing it. They're confident in their abilities, and they have professionals in their school to bounce questions off of. They have the ability to book time with a dietitian. They have ability to go sit down with a strength and conditioning coach and bounce off questions what they're doing on their own programs. And the ability to bring in some great lecturers, like we had Dylan, professional baseball player, come talk to the baseball team. We're going to have mental performance coaches come talk to these guys. That is the standard that West Islip has set. And I can guarantee you that these other schools that have been calling us, there's going to be other schools to follow. I can't wait to kind of take the results that we've been collecting and all those data points and kind of put it out there, because these kids have been crushing it, and I'm really excited to kind of show the rest of Long Island and the rest of New York State what a strength and conditioning, nutrition, and basically whole program could look like. And I hope it moves the needle.
Yeah, when we first talked to West Islip, there was a point that we made that essentially 0% of 0% of public schools, at least regionally, have this kind of access to nutrition, strength training, right, and then the tag on of mental performance.
Yeah,
it was something like 5 or 10% has access to a registered dietitian. So being able to have all those people in one room is insurmountable, right, for high school kids. And I love the clips that you guys actually put out with them answering questions about nutrition. It's great because they actually are starting to understand how plates should look, what they should do for energy. Because I can guarantee that when I was in high school, I had no idea about protein and also like how I didn't know. Actually, the one thing I probably did know was about protein. It was just like, but more my idea was just to eat as much as I can. It was anything. Right? Like it wasn't even necessarily just protein. It was just like eat as much as you can because I wanted to put weight on. It wasn't optimized, right? Yeah. But now they're getting understanding of that.
We didn't have that problem as kids.
I used to tell my friends like eat past full. Like that's what everyone's trying to do. Yeah. This is like just like this thing that was going. But like, wait, I was trying to play football and you needed that weight on you. Yeah. I know we're coming up, but I wanted this wrap, right, with like a little segment of just I saw an article that kind of said these are the top wellness trends kind of the year. I just want to throw them out. Give me a couple words kind of about either one about them. They're all things that we even touched on here or things that are common, but just like we can have a small segment just about 2026, where we are, wellness trends that people are following, and what just quick one-liners or like, do we approve, what we think, good, bad, right?
All right.
And again, this was this was an NPR article, right? So wellness trends. First one is a return to full-fat dairy. What do we think?
Overkilled. Just the education piece is like
not necessary. You're saying?
People hate dairy. People love dairy. You know.
Yeah.
Some people it's a tool. Some people it's have to avoid. You know, it's case by case, and I think that it's just one of those talking points that people are destroying for no reason, when there should be focus on bigger and better things.
Yeah, I agree. I always have full fat dairy as much as I can. I know we've talked about like the cream line.
Yep.
Right. Unhomogenized full fat milks and stuff. Just they taste better.
Yeah.
Number one. A little bit actually, if you don't have a full like an allergy or a lactose issue, much easier on digestion with.
And most of the population doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Right. People have been told to eliminate these things, but I think it's way overhyped. Like Nick said, it's something that if it gurgles in your stomach and you have a big problem and you need to go to the bathroom quickly after, you probably have a problem. Go get checked, go get tested, stay away from dairy if that's an actual fact. Otherwise, enjoy it, right? Enjoy the full fat everything, right? Like,
agree. I think it's like understand where you're putting your body. There could be more calories. If that doesn't work for your plan, don't do it. But also, maybe it's just less of it, right?
I'm against anything that's trying to restrict what your options are.
Yeah.
You know, some options should be held back on, you know, sometimes like shouldn't eat ice cream all the time.
Yeah.
You know, can you eat ice cream sometimes? Yeah. You know, like if you put it into your plan, you know, go for it.
Yeah.
And I think that almost any role in food can kind of fall into that category.
All right. Next was wearing a weighted vest for a walk.
My girlfriend's going to hate me. No, they're cool.
Yeah.
I think that any sort of resistance is just beneficial. Trend.
Yeah.
Kate wears one.
I think she has one. Yes. Yes.
It is that weighted vest is definitely one of the hot topics too. Obviously because that's why it's a trend. Great. I agree. I think that it is great. It is a tool, but it's also what are we trying to accomplish, right? If I'm trying to do cardio, am I doing cardio? If I'm trying to do strength training, I should probably do strength training. But now I'm trying to marry the two. So if I do have time for that additional walk, throw the weight vest on and see what you're going to get out of it.
I think you're trading a couple calories for walking on your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hip joints, and your spine with 30 extra pounds. That could be a big percent or whatever the percentage is of their body weight that they're using. I don't think it's necessary for their anatomy.
What if it's pink?
And it's swaggy.
Yeah. That's what you wore the other day? You had her weight vest on shirtless in the parking lot you were standing? Gotcha. So you're into them. That's cool.
Next one.
Like on point.
Next one was scientifically tracking your blood sugar even if you don't have diabetes. So we've talked about CGMs. I'll even break this in CGMs and like other fitness trackers as they're kind of all around.
Chris G.
More information is not always better.
Mm-hmm.
My views on some of the bio tracking or the watches, I think they're really good. Some people can take that data and make better decisions on it. The CGMs have worked wonders for some people. We've used it in the practice a few times, but sometimes it's overkill for somebody.
Yep.
Somebody that's super hyper-focused on those little things. It could be tampering to the overall goal. That's my piece.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never used one. If it's needed and you have a medical issue, right?
Yep.
But for interest, seeing how your body responds, if you really are into the science and you want to nerd out, cool, right? Yeah. We've had Chris and Ant with the keto stuff, paleo stuff, lower glycemic index stuff, plantain, like testing these things, pretty cool to see that response in the body and what starches or sweeteners or this, that actually do spike or not spike insulin to certain levels, but totally not necessary. The body's made to release insulin when you consume carbohydrates, and
more pro than con, just not for everybody.
Yeah. Agree. I think it's what are you doing with the data, right? I wear a Whoop kind of every day, and I don't let it run my life, but I do utilize the data and track the points to optimize my life. If I'm not looking at it or it's stressing me out, I should take it off. I think the same CGM though, right? If you're wearing a CGM and you're going to use the points that maybe you wore for 2 weeks, you know what kind of gets your glucose spiked up, or I learned that my body does regulate well, all good, right? But if you're going to stretch yourself out over things, it's probably overkill, and it's not going to give you kind of all the benefit you need.
So stepping away from the CGM for a second, just talking about the wearable tech, I've worked with a bunch of professional athletes, and I feel like they are very targeted by some of these companies to kind of give them these means. In some of the meetings that I have with them, when they open up with, my sleep score was really bad today, and then I'll go, how do you feel? And they're like, I feel pretty good.
Exactly.
And like you could just see them be like, oh, like take it to, it impacted them the second they woke up in a negative way, even though they were fine.
Yeah, they just lived in a negative sleep state life, right? Without.
I felt like I was arguing with the tech sometimes, and trying to get the point across. Yeah. Again, what are you doing with the data?
Yep.
It could be really beneficial, and sometimes it just hinders.
For sure. Next, more protein in everything, even in Oreos.
I think
how much are we talking?
I think the perspective on increasing protein for like a nationwide perspective is a good thing.
Yep.
I think most people do under-eat protein. The number one thing that people come to me is how to find more protein in their day. Putting it in every type of food possible, it might not be the answer. That's not the hill I'm fighting. But having more tools in the toolbox as a dietitian is helpful. Mm-hmm. And if someone tells me that, hey, I was going to eat that Oreo anyway, but I found 10 grams of protein in it,
better.
Yeah. Maybe their GI system might not feel the best after.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I know that being just very intuitive about what I consume and how I feel so much better if I eat something that's like a whole full fat Greek yogurt with chocolate and blueberries, right? That has protein in it naturally. Yeah. Instead of like an Oikos protein added yogurt with certain other additives too, or an added like big protein muffin or something, even though they're so good. Love it for that little dessert type or quick sweet snack or something. I'm with it, especially for the nationwide protein as a switch. But to not overdo it. Just like not overdoing everything in somewhat moderation besides whole foods all the time, right? I think the more you stray away from whole foods, the more, at least for me, it's affected digestion. I feel a little bit bloated. I feel a little like it's just not as clean and pure digestion-wise, right? Yeah. But I'm with it. If I can have a couple Oreos, get some grams of protein in, be it.
Yeah.
Are we still eating the full sugar Oreo and there's just protein added?
Exactly.
Or, right, are you still eating 85 grams of sugar, but now you're getting 22 grams of protein instead of 0.5 grams of protein and 80 grams? Like, it's like, what's the trade-off here? Yeah, the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, agree. I don't need to to fight the more protein argument anymore. I think that we all are very pro protein. We want you high in your protein and hitting your targets, and it is hard. So to have things that aid in that goal is good. But I do think there is some overkill now in the sense that it's in everything. It's, again, like to the same point, like, yes, you're having Oreos, but now there's 10 grams of protein. Great, doesn't make it healthier, right? So like, we found 5 grams of protein. Also, like, did we see the Chipotle high protein lineup that just dropped? Dope. Chipotle was kind of already pretty high protein, and now they have like a 90-gram bowl, and it's like cool.
Well, it's the side cups, right? You can get like the side cups now.
No, they have like little cups, but then they have like I don't know. There was like a Josh Hart bowl that dropped that had like 90 grams of protein in it. Right, and it's like, I don't know, if you missed all your protein on the day, sure, go for it. Right, I good to kind of spread it out too, and I don't know who's chasing a 90-gram bowl or 90-gram serving of protein at
I just get triple chicken all the time.
It is. No, it's just that it's hot.
It's a selling point.
It's a hot item. So it's like, hey, let's go and let's make a 90-gram bowl. When, again, if you just did a double chicken bowl, I don't know where you land there. You're probably 50 plus, right? Like,
it's pretty high.
It was already high protein.
It's probably could hit 70 if you get I've back years ago definitely got like tried to get like a triple chicken or something like that.
So the 90-gram bowl is for TJ. He's gonna, we said it before, but quick one-liner: creatine, supplements, creatine and everything also. Or like now they're adding creatine to other things.
Keep it coming.
Yeah.
I don't know the efficacy behind it. I remember a few conversations years ago, and also but also like dissipation, heat, right? Heat tolerance creatine has and dissipates. I've heard it dissipates if it's in a liquid for more than a certain amount of hours. It actually just like dissipates and you don't absorb any of it.
How often do you leave your creatine in some fluids?
Never. I dry scoop it most of the time. Or immediate water, cock it back like 5 to 10 grams.
Dry scoop.
It's right. It's immediately right, but I think like creatine is a supplement. People should take it every day because they don't eat enough meats and fish, probably, right? Huge supplement, 100%. I'm with it, but I think don't buy into the crap.
Yeah,
the gummies.
So if you're gonna take it,
all the stuff,
just take it the monohydrate
straight up
powder, mix it in something that you like, and drink it. Yeah,
take it raw.
Don't waste your money. Get the 5 grams a day, and just keep moving forward.
Like it. All right, we're good.
Solid.
Wellness trends, baby. Let's go.
I pee so bad.
2027 next year. What will that word be?
Yeah.
Vacation.
Vacation.
Oh, the one. Wait, are you still going? All right, last one. We'll touch on. Right. This had beef kind of being back and people eating more red meat.
Yeah.
We can almost spin that also into reversal of the food pyramid, right? And kind of what our feel is.
So I haven't spoken on this yet, and I haven't finished my research on it. But what I can tell you is that the food pyramid hasn't been used as the standard for the United States in a while. It went from the food pyramid to My Plate. My Plate had its kind of run, and now they've kind of flipped the existing pyramid around, but held a lot of the same recommendations for My Plate. I don't think the change is that different. I think the outcry and all this big media on it is not about the important pieces of trying to find more whole foods, understanding the protein needs to go up as a general population, and we need to make sure that we're not overdoing it with our processed carbohydrates.
All good things.
Yeah. But I just wanted to come across as a lot of it was already there, but people weren't talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel like they're talking about it for the wrong reason. And if someone listened to this whole podcast and made it all the way through,
it's going to be cut out.
Well,
it's going to be its own segment.
Yeah, like if somebody is spending the time to do the research on the food pyramid or My Plate or the flip of the pyramid, I hope they also do the research on what it's actually recommending for you, because a lot of it hasn't changed. Sometimes I just put a little bit more emphasis on some new tips, and the big one this time is the protein increase and really limiting some of the processed carbohydrates.
Yeah, agree. I don't know one person that's brought up to me, I'm basing what I eat every day on the food pyramid, right? But if we can be at the top down, and talking about let's eat some more protein, let's eat whole foods and reduce some sugar. Solid. Doesn't matter kind of where you align politically, but those things will be better for you.
Yeah,
agreed.
I agree.
Look out for our post.
100%. I mean,
let's go. All right. Thank you. Let's go.
Yeah.
Lots to do in 2026. I'll meet you guys there.
We're already here.